Why, hello there, I'm Professor Joel, and welcome to another episode of Planet Scooby Reviews. Today we are covering The Exterminator, which is episode 5 of season 2 of the new Scooby Doo Movies, and it originally aired on October 6, 1973. This episode guest stars Don Adams, who's most famous for his role on the Get Smart television series as Maxwell Smart, and as the voice of the 80s Inspector Gadget cartoon. Here we see the gang in Hollywood, where they are hired by Don to work as insect exterminators for the famous movie actor Loren Chumly, the man of a million faces. Loren Chumly, of course, is a take on Lon Chaney, the man of 1,000 faces, who is most famous as the silent actor in Phantom of the Opera, among several other movies, of course. And his son, Lon Chaney Jr., also saw fame in the Universal film The Wolfman. So, with the promise of some old-fashioned gothic horror, will I enjoy this episode? Let's find out. The episode begins with the gang driving through Hollywood and looking at all the celebrity homes. We get some nice fake takes on celebrities such as Gregory Grant and Steve McKing.
Aren't these homes in Hollywood something else? There's Gregory Grant's home, and that mansion belongs to Steve McKing.
The gang then spot Don Adams stuck on the side of the road in his Adams Exterminator Co. truck. Don has a side hustle as an exterminator. Don has no car and he is running late to exterminate a house. The gang volunteer to help and they drive Don to the house in the Mystery Machine.
There's someone in trouble. Sir, do you need help?
Me need help? That's ridiculous.
It's the famous Don Adams.
You're right.
Now head of the Adams Exterminator Company. And I'm due to exterminate a movie star's home in 10 minutes.
We'll be glad to take you there.
If you'd like, there's enough equipment here to fight an army of insects.
Don hires the gang as his assistant and the gang accepts. As they pull up, we learn the house is Horror Hill and belongs to Loren Chumly, the famous horror movie star, and Shaggy is not impressed.
Gee, I wish I could see the inside of a movie star's home.
How'd you like to be my assistants? You'll be doing me a favor. Pull up, there's the house.
That's Horror Hill.
The home of the old horror film star, Loren Chumly. It gives me the creeps.
That's because it looks just like the house in one of his horror movies, Strangers Beware. Yeah, that's a movie he made. It won a whole bunch of Oscars. It opened up with a group of unsuspecting strangers, just like us, going up an eerie path, just like this. They were headed towards a gloomy, spooky house, unaware of the dangers that lurked ahead.
Knocking on the door, we meet the butler named Otto, who lets Don and the gang in. Don also explains to the gang that the bank is selling this house and they hire Don to get rid of all of the bugs.
Yes? Mr. Chumley does not wish exterminators on his property.
The bank is selling this house and I have to exterminate before it can be sold.
So you insist, do you? Very well. Come in. My name is Otto. I am Mr. Chumley's butler. Follow me.
Daphne is happy to be inside a Hollywood home and the gang marvel at all the quirky decorations. As they walk about, lots of weird things happen that Shaggy fears are ghosts. However, Don explains it's probably just termites. Before they set off on their extermination gig, Otto warns them to tread carefully as the house is full of unspeakable terror. Shaggy and Scooby find this out pretty fast as a portrait comes to life and gives them a good scare.
They must not roam through this house by themselves. There are too many dangers lurking in these old rooms.
The portrait sure looks like Swampy Pete, who we saw in the first Harlem Globetrotters episode.
Psst, it's me, Swampy Pete. And me.
Running to hide, they soon run into a werewolf that is quite similar to the werewolf from A Gaggle of Ghosts. Otto once again tells them that strangers are not welcome and he cannot be responsible for the consequences that will occur if they stay.
Enough clowning. This is not a fun house. It's a shrine. a shrine to the artistic brilliance of my employer, Lon Chumly, master of 1,000 frightening disguises. They are all pictures of the great Lon Chumly in his most frightening roles. He was known as the man with 1,000,000 faces.
Also 1,000,000 termites.
I am giving you all one last warning. Strangers are not welcome in this house. I cannot be responsible for the consequences if you stay.
The gang continue to spray down the house, and we get plenty of gags of the gang encountering several haunted props and sinister figures.
In which architectural location shall we commence with our anti-lepidopteran activities?
She said, where do you think we ought to start debugging?
Several portraits come to life, and we get some spooky encounters with Mr. Hyde and Frankenstein's monster. About halfway through the episode, we learn that Otto is in cahoots with a sinister-looking man who is purposely haunting the house.
Well, is it working?
All is going according to plan. A few more spooky happenings, and those intruders will abandon this house like frightened rabbits.
Good, very good.
And then we can proceed with our master plan uninterrupted.
The two men get back to their haunting, and we get a funny scene where one of them dresses up as an exterminator and joins the gang in spraying the house down for bugs. Another fun scene happens in the pool room where we get a fun nod to the creature from the Black Lagoon. The gang reunite in the projection room but are soon chased out by a haunted popcorn machine and dozens of bats.
We'll soon be rid of them, won't we?
They then run into an elevator which carries them up to Loren Chumley's theatrical storeroom. Up there they find the missing exterminator equipment that had gone missing.
Hey, kids, look. It's Lon Chumley's theatrical storeroom.
Old costumes, theatrical trunks, wigs?
And our equipment.
After a few more haunted experiences, we soon see Otto directing Mr. Chumley as a werewolf. It turns out they are trying to get a comeback going for Loren Chumley, and they have been secretly recording a movie so he can get some money to buy back his house from the bank.
That's it. Give me more emotion. More. Brilliant, Mr. Chumley.
Do you really think so, Otto? Finally, Otto, I'm prepared to make my comeback. Once again, the world will cheer and shudder and swoon at the talents of the immortal Lon Chumly. We must complete this movie before the bank sells my home.
Scooby and Shaggy are unaware of this and accidentally trap Otto and Mr. Chumley.
Get this pussycat off me!
Don unmasked Chumley, who is wearing a few masks, and Chumley reveals that he was trying to scare the exterminators off as there was a clause in the agreement that the house needed to be sprayed down before it can be sold.
It's Otto!
And a monster!
Actually, it's Otto and Lon Chumly. You forget he's the man with 1,000,000 faces.
That's Loren Chumly?
Wrong again. Not again.
So that's Loren Chumly.
You miss again.
Ouch!
He really is the man with 1,000,000 faces.
And 1,000,000 debts. That's why the bank is selling this house.
But I couldn't allow it to be sold until I finished filming my movie here. Once the Hollywood bigwigs see me in this film, they'll realize that the immortal Lon Chumly is ready to make his comeback.
But why all the Halloween hocus pocus?
He knew the house couldn't be sold until it was exterminated.
So that's why he tried to frighten us away with trick costumes and trained bats. We'd be glad to help you, wouldn't we, gang?
Ready for take one.
Take one.
Thus, instead of exterminating the house for bugs, the gang volunteers to help Mr. Chumley finish his movie. I give this episode a 6.5 out of 10. I like this one a lot. It's probably one of my favorite episodes so far, but it's also incredibly padded and not much actually happens. I do feel it has some good atmosphere with a creepy old house, and I appreciate the nod to classic horror films from the silent era. I liked all the paintings on the wall, the creepy monsters coming out of the paintings. I thought that was cool. I like the appearance of Swampy Pete. even though it was an official appearance of Swampy Pete. I like the plot twists. I like the whole plot and everything of this. I just thought, again, not much happened. If this was a 22-minute episode, it would have been way better. There's just too much comedy in this and not enough spookiness for me. And if this was 22 minutes, I would have given this a higher ranking for sure. But once again, it is one of my favorite episodes. I'm just kind of judging this more from a spooky point of view. Don made for a good guest as well, and he throws himself into the role of the Exterminator superbly. I thought he was funny as heck. And I just thought it was funny how he's always spraying these chemicals on everyone and launching bug bombs and then ranting about insects and talking shop talk and going into minuscule details about every little insect about. I thought that was really cool. I thought he did a great job with that. But please, kids, in real life, do not inhale bug spray. If it kills bugs, it's probably going to kill some brain cells. It's not good for you. While this was one of my favorite episodes, it's just, like I said, just kind of lackluster in terms of chills and spookiness. But I really enjoyed the juxtaposition of Don thinking all the troubles were due to termites and Shaggy and Scooby blaming everything on ghosts. I thought that was kind of cool. And like I said, I liked the reveal at the end and thought that was kind of funny. And I think they kind of used the same ending in the Return to Zombie Island. It's kind of the same setup now that I'm thinking back to it. Anyway, once again, I want to thank you for any likes, views, subscribes, and shares. It's always great to see my channel grow and get, more people watching my videos and hopefully thinking a little more about Scooby-Doo. Anyway, next week I will be covering the Weird Winds of Winona. Until then, stay spooky.